Welcome to another episode of An Echo of Glory, a live episode as we continue. I'm Jake Robson. Joining me, as ever, Gary Diamond.
Good afternoon.
And the other Jake, Jake Sanders.
Good afternoon.
He's the other Jake. What can I say?
The lesser.
No, I didn't say that. I said the other Jake. Obviously, you'll see very clearly that we're missing someone in the studio.
Who?
Didn't notice.
Well, firstly, I was thinking to myself, Spurs have won, so he couldn't show. He couldn't show.
Savage.
The other thing is he's been seen on another podcast, a rival podcast or a friendly rival podcast.
January's not open yet. Is it the January window?
Well, I don't know if there's anything to draw with that. But Gary, you're here, so has he left you behind?
Yeah, I didn't make it. They auditioned us, and apparently they took him on and threw me back here.
Well, we're glad to have you. Johnny will be back. God knows when's he going to be back. When are we even going to be back? Christmas.
Next Friday,
we podding every 4 days. Mad time. But anyway, yes, Jake Robson here in the hot seat just for one day only. Let's start with a bit of club news. Under 21s lost 5-1 at home. The Ajax in the Premier League International Cup on Wednesday. I'm sure you were across that one.
Chucks you in there. Wow.
Did Van der Vaart's son score?
He did. Son of scoring one of their goals. Elsewhere, the women have been drawn at home to West Ham in the League Cup quarter-final. They drew their last league game 1-1 at Brighton on Saturday. We didn't mention that in last week's show. We've mentioned it now, so we've ticked off that box. And probably the biggest bit of club news revolves around last night. We obviously qualified for the semi-final.
The famous top. Is it too early?
I don't know. What do you reckon?
We sing it every cup game anyway.
Go on.
Yeah, well, why not? Let's do it.
Enjoy it.
Well, in the FA Cup, you can sing that because
semi-finals.
And of course, we were drawn Liverpool. And who pulled the balls out?
None other than soon-to-be guest on this show, live. So
we've got a very special guest coming up in around 25 minutes' time. Jamie Carragher, Sky Sports pundit, Liverpool legend, and what will now be 3-time Echo of Glory guest. Is that correct? It is, isn't it?
So, yeah.
Yeah. He's done the treble because he's been on every time we've played Liverpool.
Is he now made more Echo of Glory performances than he has scored goals for Tottenham?
I thought you were going to say than me. Yes.
That would have been better.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. He scored a couple of own goals, didn't he, at Tottenham? That's club news done. Of course, as I say, we are live. We've got Jamie Carragher coming up. Keep the comments coming in. Spurs forever, we see you. Robert, Mark McNamara will be reading those out very shortly. Hope everyone's still alive after last night. Well, absolutely. Yeah, we'll come on to the game very shortly. You were obviously... One of you was at the game, Gary. A couple of drinks, was it?
Oh, such a great day yesterday. Such a great day. Do you know? So, got the kids to school, went back, had a lie-in, fantastic. Got up, went to Borough Market with the missus, had a mooch around, couple of mulled wines, some lunch. She went home, met a mate in the pub, had a few more drinks, then went down to the game. A few more drinks before that. Beat United, get to semi-final, back to the pub, couple more, and then back home. What a day. If you could relive days... That's
and more from a life in the day in the life of Gary Diamond coming up after the break.
There's no more to it. It's that basically.
That sounds like a belt.
Get me to the pub and get me to Spurs. Brilliant.
It sounds like a great day, but I only want to know about the football.
Who picked the kids up?
Oh, my missus.
Did she watch the game?
Actually, she didn't. Her after school care to pick the kids up. Thanks for your concern, Jay. I certainly didn't. And to be honest with you, it's not one of the days I cared. So, don't know.
Oh, lucky kids. What about you?
I watched it with my family, which was a first. My brother lives in Dubai. Flew home from Dubai last night. I wanted to go, but he didn't land till 6:30, and then all my family was over, which was good until Forster went AWOL, and then it started to get a bit sticky when my mum was there and my grandma was there, and it was like,
but it was fine all over the place.
It was good. It was a largely enjoyable night, apart from a little period.
Gary, the stadium looked like it was up for it. After first five minutes or so, I'm thinking, I wish I was there.
Yeah, I had that.
Yeah,
it was good last night.
Did I pick the wrong game by going on Sunday?
it was a good atmosphere. It was, I think it's one of them where it's pre-Christmas, late evening game. It's a big game. The opportunity to get to a semi-final against a team like Manchester United. So the stadium was up for it, and it was just everything about it. Everything about it was enjoyable. And looking back on it now, I can even say the sort of comedy factor of the last half hour. Because you could have sat there for the last half hour sort of just falling asleep, really, because that's what should have happened. It should have just been game over. But actually, in retrospect, it all added to it a little bit.
Sore head this morning, you're on the waters.
Very sore head this morning, yeah. Pretty tired, pretty hungover.
Two Thursdays running for you.
Yeah. Rangers last week, Tottenham this week.
Oh, two Thursdays out.
Yeah.
I always feel like the atmospheres are better in the cups with the bigger away allocation.
Yeah,
it's not. I never.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of United fans
I never
there.
love it seeing that many away fans in the ground, and it would be more for the FA Cup. It would be. I think it was 6,000 last night. I think it'll be 9,000, but it just always gets the home fans a bit more.
It wasn't by the end. They'd all gone.
And then they started probably racing back.
No, and they're revitalised. They've got a bit of energy about them with the new manager. They've got a bit of belief. And to be fair, they looked much more organised than they ever did under Ten Hag. They look like they've got a system, a plan. And actually, I think in time, United will be much stronger than they were under Ten Hag with Amorim. They were decent last night. Their fans were decent, but the whole thing just added to a really great evening, good atmosphere. Yeah,
their fans are always good. United.
Yeah,
their away fans are brilliant always.
They're all right. They're all right.
But the football never stops because, of course, we've got a game coming up this weekend. Ange has already done his press conference.
I was going to ask, haven't you been somewhere this morning?
I was there this morning. It was a busy one. Lots of people there wanting to hear what the great man had to say.
You still even got your wristband on, haven't you?
You're talking about yourself?
Well, everyone wants to hear what I've got to say. But wristband still on. Tottenham Hotspur training ground.
I was watching Sky Sports and I heard you posing your question.
It was on Sky Sports, was it?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on Sky Sports.
Pretends not to know.
Well, you don't know because
I know. You don't know what they show.
You don't know what they show.
Like
I don't think they took it live because sometimes you go and they take it live. And
no, I was having some lunch before I come down here, and I just put on Sky Sports, and it was on one of their channels. I heard you asking about Archie Gray.
So usually, I did, and I'll come on to that. Usually, when you go to a press conference, always Sky get to go first, and sometimes they take it live. But because at Tottenham, you're limited to 3 questions each because there was so many people there.
Yeah.
You're more likely, I think, if you don't work for Sky, for your questions to then get on, if they want to play 3-4 minutes of the press conference out.
Yeah.
Because I was there for the Premier League, he goes second.
Right.
So, I got to ask him about Archie Gray. Archie Gray blows my mind, to be honest, because we signed him as a midfielder. He's played in defence. And he's now playing at centre-back.
Having played right back and left back this season as well.
He looked so good last night.
Yeah.
And I think Ange should have said, well, he had no choice but to put him there. But
he's brilliant.
He's just brilliant, isn't he? What a footballer.
There's some talk about, let's have a chat about Archie Gray while we're on the topic. There's some talk about, will playing in all of these positions hinder his development as a 6? I was having a chat with a mate last night who I think made a really, really good point, salient point, and wonder what people think about it, which is, if you think back over the course of time, a lot of the very best players have been very versatile. When you think of Marcel Desailly, when you think of Paolo Maldini, when you think of Clarence Seedorf, Ruud Gullit, these sorts of players had careers in multiple positions. And through learning other positions, you understand the game a hell of a lot more, perhaps, and become a much more rounded, complete player. I think we have this fixation that players should specialise in one place. But he made a very, very good point. In contrast to what I think a lot of people are saying is, Archie Gray's not getting the development as a 6. But actually, learning the game in different positions might help him as a 6.
I tell you what, the way he anticipates where the ball's going to be passed sometimes by the opposition defenders, or the way he gets into position to block the ball, I want him in the 6. Get him in the 6.
Yeah, I mean, but Norman Stanley Fletcher has mentioned Gary Mabbott. He played in midfield a little bit. Ledley King played in midfield a little bit. I'd argue that Eric Dyer became a better footballer when he had the season in midfield under Pochettino. And that sort of became the making of his career. Not that he stayed at midfield, but he seemed to find where he was and on the football pitch generally and become a better player through playing in different positions. So actually this education that Archie Gray is getting at the age of 18, I think is absolutely tremendous. And I think actually will help him going forwards and won't hinder him.
Well, Ange was gushing about him. It's always nice to go to Tottenham. You've done a presser at Tottenham before. Oh, Gary, a spread. Sandwiches, cakes, teas, coffee, pastries.
Yeah. Did they get the cheeses out?
In the afternoon sometimes. That's at the games. Also, it wasn't just tea. It was a choice of which six
Yeah.
teas would you like? Peppermint, green tea, white tea, dark tea. Oh my God, Tottenham, they look after you as you'd expect. So come on then, let's get on to the game. We've got about 15 minutes or so until Carragher comes on. We can do the lineup first if you want to start that way. Any surprises for you guys?
No, I thought that was the team that I would have picked, knowing Udogie was out, and
Everybody
it had
wants
to be Kulu and Madison.
Yeah.
It had to be.
There
He
was
could
only
not
the
play
question of
Madison, and Johnson's not been great the last couple.
Yeah.
It had to be that team. I think there was no. In fact, no. Maybe did Bissouma come straight back? Yeah, I guess it was pretty much. Yeah, but Bergvall was good against Southampton, but I never saw him keeping his place in that big of a game.
No.
But it's also a big ask. You know, you're asking a hell of a lot of teenagers to play back-to-back games. What Gray is doing at the minute, playing these back-to-back games, is big. And as much as I've advocated for the likes of Gray and Bergvall to take more minutes, back-to-back 90 minutes, 4 days apart, it was absolutely right to bring Bissouma back and have Bergvall's legs off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about slow starts in the past against some of the opponents at home recently, or just in the Premier League. But we were at it from, first couple of minutes. The press was on, high up the pitch, and the crowd just getting behind that. And it's what we want to see.
I think that's 3 games out of 4, isn't it now? Southampton, we were 1 up early. Chelsea, we were 2 up. United was, what was it?
1 up at half time, but
15
minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've really come out quick.
Because we said this a couple of times last season, didn't we? We didn't manage to for all the pressure that we had early doors, we didn't make it count. And obviously last night, as you said, the last couple of games, what struck me watching that first half, they barely laid a glove on us in the first half.
This was the interesting thing, is I think United, I mentioned at the top, I thought United looked decent. I think they controlled the ball a lot better than I see them do under Ten Hag, and they moved it around well. What I was really pleased to see with Tottenham is I thought it was a really controlled and measured first half. I thought we played a bit within ourselves, which is understandable a little bit because, we have had Sunday, Thursday for as long as I can remember now. So, to play within yourselves and I think this has been a bit of my frustration at times in the past. You can control a game without necessarily having the ball. That was the great mantra of the likes of Conte and Mourinho. I don't think it's what Postecoglou really was, but last night was kind of, the first half in particular was kind of a bit of the epitome of that. Was United had a lot of the ball. I didn't take a look at the possession stats, but I didn't feel threatened by them. I didn't feel like we were exerting ourselves too much. I didn't feel like we were under too much threat or pressure.
We had them at arm's length.
We had them at arm's length, and I felt we were controlling the game, and we went and grabbed that goal, and it actually looked like a performance at that stage where I thought this could end 1-0 potentially, because I didn't really see United doing a hell of a lot. So what happened in the second half then was complete contrast.
But what a finish as well for that first goal.
Tremendous
the way
finish.
On the rebound, sort of half volley.
Do you know what the nicest thing about that goal was? Knowing it was a goal.
Yeah. No VAR.
Because it was actually really tight.
It was tight.
He would have been on.
No, it was on, but it was like...
Just his goal, that's it.
But
my
then
brother half stopped and I said, no, we're good, we're good.
It's a little bit
we're
like
good.
Sonny's goal as well, we'll come to that. But if there had been VAR,
Yeah.
it would have gone to a review.
Yeah.
Whereas once the ref
Yeah.
blows up and says goal, that's it. So it was quite nice, no VAR. And it was quite nice that there being no VAR. For once, it wasn't us that suffered for not having it.
I just love how alert Solanke is for that rebound.
Brilliant.
I think it kind of goes hand in hand with how well he presses. It's like he's always on. Like, where's the ball? Where am I meant to be? And he's just
Not an easy finish as well.
No, that's what I mean.
It's a really,
Fantastic.
really
Really
difficult
hard
skill
finish.
on the half volley.
Really hard finish, on the half volley. I mean, it's one of them where you can look at it, and if he misses it, you'll think, but actually, it's a really hard finish, that, and he took it so well.
Yeah, and then the same really for obviously it wasn't him that scored the second, but the high press, bit of quality from Madison.
Yeah, that Son Madison
Crap
works
defending
quite well down that left, don't it?
Mm.
We've seen that a few times with Son and Madison linking up.
But it's worth picking up on Jed Spence, who started that whole thing, once again really driving into that midfield area, carrying the ball, drawing players out of position, and him driving in, attracting players out with him, then creates more room for the likes of Son and Madison. And before we actually talk about the goal, it's worth mentioning just Jed Spence as a whole, who for me was fantastic against Southampton. And last night, arguably, I had him potentially as man of the match. People may disagree, but I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. And we come to a point now where not only I think does Ange run out of excuses to not use Spence a hell of a lot more, but it also does raise the question why he hasn't used him a lot more this season already. And coming to January in the sort of redrawing of the European squad, you've got to think that Werner will be left out and Spence has got to come in.
Well, he was asked about Spence. Did Spence deserve his standing ovation last night? Yeah, agreed. He's had to bide his time, but he's kept working hard. And what's impressed Postecoglou the most, he said, was that he's not just come in to make up the numbers, he's actually made an impact.
Yes.
And he said he's been training without much opportunity, which isn't easy. And, he's really proven a point. And he's made us, he actually used the words, he's made us a better team. So I think we'll see more of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I know you're about to say something, but when you think about what the impact that it's had, number one, we've looked defensively good against Southampton, and joke goals aside, we looked defensively good against United for the most part, only one time in behind with Mazraoui. Outside of that, I don't think they did anything. But against Southampton, he got the ball rolling, he drove at them, he took them on, he was the one that stood up and said, I'm going to make something happen. Similarly, second half, he was the one that drove into midfield for that second goal. And then the third goal, the ball over the top to Solanke, is a great ball as well. Yeah, so he's. I mean, I know I'm the sort of chairman of the Jed Spence fan club on this pod, but I think,
Pilch58 in the comments agrees. Spence was super impressive at left back. But comment of the day firstly goes to C. Jones. Good panel. What were you going to say, Jake, about...
I think the most impressive thing about Spence is, I was just thinking this before, is he's never started a game before this week under Ange, right?
Or for Tottenham, full stop.
No, but when did he last start a football match?
It must have been for Genoa.
But we're talking pre-season, right? Yeah. So for a player to come in, okay, Southampton, is not the greatest, side to... But to come in and play twice like that in two of our better performances this season, to put in that level, especially playing, Anthony's probably a nicer player to play against than, for example, Salah on Sunday.
Big game, though.
But big game, and we spoke a few months ago, and we both agreed we like Spence. But I straight out said, I don't see a future for Spence at Tottenham, because I just didn't see a way where he could get into a position where Ange would trust him. And hopefully now, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself because football can change quick. But hopefully now this is it. This is this has to be the platform where this guy is pushing Porro. He can also play on the left moving forward. This guy has to be a serious part of us moving forward.
You're 100% right. And my view on Spence, and I think your view as well, has always been, people say, how can you vouch for Spence and say that he should be in the team? We haven't seen enough. I think we had. We saw enough of him at Forest. We've seen enough of him in pre-season. We've seen enough of him when he has come on for cameos. And the reality is, he's a big guy. He's athletic. He's got every attribute. He can really play. The question for him has always been, does he want it? Does he want to do it? Is his head screwed on? And whatever's happened last season at Leeds, at Genoa, he's come back in pre-season and it's been a different Jed Spence. That's been clear. All the noise around him has been different, and it looks like his head very much is screwed on. And
I almost wonder if Ange hasn't been testing him, because, as I said earlier, it's not easy to train without much opportunity. So he knows what's been going on.
But as you say, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Yeah. But what he has shown is that he is able to play at this level and then some, right? He should be having in his head right now, not only am I now pushing Udogie or Porro, but I'm also should be, and he really should, and I mean this seriously, I should be pushing for the England squad, right? Because he would be a huge attribute to the England squad to be able to play on the left or right in a tournament. Yeah. That's got to be his goal.
Daniel Pinker's saying Spence has a great attitude at the moment. Lijah UK, Spence has a great outside the foot pass. It's his way of passing out to the right without his left foot.
Do you know what? Like Gary, I mean, I've watched loads and loads of Forest a few years ago, and it's slightly different, but I didn't realise how technically good he was in tight spaces. He's great going forward. He scored quite a few goals. I remember maybe against QPR, look it up if you haven't seen it, a screamer from 30 yards. He scored some lovely goals. I think he scored against Leicester in the Cup, loads of assists. But I didn't realise, especially playing on the left, which is so much harder because you can't have that ball up the line, when it's your weaker foot. Didn't realise such tight areas in really dangerous areas near our own box. He seems so comfortable playing in tight spaces.
And it's that attribute that makes him so perfect for that position in an Ange team, whether it's left back or right back. And again, it's kind of surprising that we haven't seen more of him, but we've got to now.
And it shouldn't go unnoted that the whole reason that we were there last night was Jed Spence kickstarting our League Cup campaign against Coventry. by taking. This is what I like about him. He takes responsibility.
Yeah, he does.
He takes responsibility and says, "I'm going to get this done." I really like the guy. I've always really liked the guy. I really hope he keeps his head screwed on. He could be a massive, massive attribute for us. Save us a lot of money on a fullback. You know, like
I personally wouldn't start him Sunday. I'd start a Dogie just because Salah and a bigger occasion. I personally wouldn't because with Forest on Boxing Day.
All right, well, we'll come on to Sunday, but just want to finish off the game quickly. 3-0, that goal by Solanke. There's a certain player who left a couple of seasons ago.
Do you know what? That was I know any goal that scores, everyone's like, oh, Kane. That's the first time I saw that and thought, not just the fact that it was like Kane, it almost felt like that was the first time in his Tottenham career that he really felt like I'm Tottenham centre forward, because he's not scored a goal like that yet. And, he scored some nice goals, some nice finishes, but that was like what you pay the big bucks for. Yeah. Not get into the box, and I don't know if it was Kulu or Maddison to his right, I'm going to take it on. Left Johnny Evans for dead, and a really, really quality finish.
But also waited. They mentioned it on the analysis after the game. He could have taken it early and snatched it.
Yeah, but he took that extra touch.
Took that extra touch. Fantastic.
Yeah, he was. I think what we haven't seen a lot of opportunity for Solanke to do is get in behind and run in behind. Actually, he was quite good at that for Bournemouth last season, and we saw it against Bournemouth. He had 1 or 2 when he was in behind and fluffed his lines. So I think that was a big moment for him as well, to score in front of the South Stand, which he hasn't yet done.
Yeah, that was the first.
And get the adulation of the fans there was important. But I think if anybody is doubting the impact that Solanke has had, he's one of these. He may not score in every game, but it's a little bit like when Kane would go through little patches of not scoring. He was never out of the game. He was never redundant or anonymous. And that's the same with Solanke. We are an infinitely better side for having Solanke in the team, regardless of whether he scores, than if he's out the team.
3-0, we're in dreamland. I'm watching last night, and the wife says, does that mean we can turn it off now? And I looked at her and said, well, yeah.
That's not really how it works.
Well, I know. I said, you know what? I'm going to go into the kitchen and do the washing up, and I'll have it on the iPad in the side. So I'm still watching the game. Got the game,
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, we're fine now.
It was so easy. It should have played out with a winning between 3 and 5-0.
Yeah.
You could even bring, if you get another goal, you can even bring a couple of the youngsters on, maybe Lancashire or Dorrington.
But I'm thinking to myself, easy win here. I'm not going to make the wife sit through 25 minutes of us passing, of the game petering out. I'll give her the TV back. I'll go and watch it on the iPad. I'll get some brownie points for doing the washing up, and I'm not even going to miss anything. It felt like
United had sort of accepted, eyes on the weekend, fair enough.
They may have accepted it, but some of the defenders and players in the Tottenham side may not have accepted it.
Do you know what? I was going to put a message in the group, because I'm a Forster fan. He made an absolute screamer of a save.
He did.
Yeah, the header.
A brilliant save, and I was bigging him up. And then the first one I can accept. The first one, it's poor. I don't know why he's even playing the ball there. Sometimes you need to just get rid of it. It's a shock we can get. The second one is like borderline unprofessional.
Yeah.
It is like the ball, I know Bissouma should have gone forward. Gray you should never play to a keeper straight away after they've just made a mistake. Yeah. I'm not digging Gray out. It was a bit
Gray
careless all around. Yeah, exactly. But when the ball started coming back to him, I was thinking, you need to go to the ball. You can't control the ball on the line.
Goal line, yeah.
Because if you do it 10 yards out and that happens, you've seen keepers get away with it. But the ball couldn't go anywhere else because Ahmad was basically in the goal.
Yeah.
But it was just, at that point, I didn't even know where that game was going.
It's a really funny one. I heard in the presser, I think somebody asked Ange, and he kind of picked up on it. I don't know if you picked up on it as well. Somebody said to him about, is he going to revise his gung-ho tactics in the aftermath of last night when we come to play Liverpool? And it's a little bit like, well, no goals were scored last night against us because of gung-ho tactics. This wasn't because of gung-ho tactics. These were just, they
were individual errors. That's what he said.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
It.
But it was nothing to do with tactics or whatever. It was just the players on the pitch making the wrong decisions at the wrong time, which happens. It does raise the question of, should we go longer a bit more? I didn't see this, but apparently Forster did that at one point and the bench went mad at him. I don't know about that. But it did look to me like we were going a bit more direct at times. which is fine. You've got a big lad up there in Dom Solanke, 6'2". If you're going for him, make sure you get around him and pick up them second balls. There was one time we went long and he challenged and their geezer headed it straight out of play. Fine. We're 50, 60 yards up the pitch. No problem for me.
I actually asked Ange about Forster because he came out and to Sky after the game last night. He said no one's more disappointed than Fraser for what's happened. So I asked him to elaborate on that. And he said, basically, people have bad days out there, and he was very keen to highlight all the good performances and the saves that he's made. Basically, he said that last night were the only 2 errors that he's made since he's come into the side,
that's correct.
which is fair.
Yeah, but and you could see he was rattled. I mean, that save with his feet was a bizarre one as well, and he was like,
do you know what that
was amazing?
Do you know what that was so wild that I was so nervous at that point that it made me feel a bit better because it was so outrageous in a Tottenham Man United game that it made me laugh. I was like, and I used to be a keeper, and I was just like, that is truly mental. I don't know whether it was because I know you mentioned that Carragher said it was probably the right thing to do. Maybe it was, and I always say as long as it stays out the net. But it was like almost I couldn't be asked.
But he
was so bizarre.
He said it when they'd had a look at it a few times, a bit more considered. But on commentary straight away, Gary Neville said it's like when the outfield players go in goal at the end of training. They just didn't know what to do. Didn't want to get their wrist broken.
It was a real daisy cutter with a lot of power, and it was moving around. Maybe. I actually think, in retrospect, I agree. It probably was the right way to deal with that ball because if he tries to save it, it's one that could easily spill out. Yeah. Could easily spill out. As it is, he got big perch on it, big boot on it, cleared it up the pitch. It just looked unconventional, and so hot off the back of them 2 mistakes makes it look even worse than it was when actually it wasn't bad at all.
It's a good save. But Ange also mentioned actually earlier that. Some of the decisions that we make need to be better. And he wasn't just pointing to Forster, he was saying in the lead up to that, maybe the ball shouldn't have gone back to him. So that's the game more or less done and dusted. It's going to have to be, I'm afraid, because I believe we've got our main man coming on. Is that right, James? As we all limber up here, put our headphones on. Well, we have pictures. Going to be discussing all things. Hello, Jamie. Can you hear us? Cara? We can hear something. The joys of live broadcasting. It's a nice looking table there, that is for sure.
I think that's Kitchen Island, isn't it?
Kitchen Island.
Granite worktop.
Very nice. We'll just be sorting this out. But yeah, guys, all in all, fantastic performance. In the end, I mean, 2 errors, as you said, Gary. It's the couple of goals that we conceded. Kind of,
we actually did all right after the 3. The 3-2 till the sort of 4-2. They didn't really have a chance, did they? It didn't really feel like
the whole game. I thought was a really measured, controlled performance from Tottenham. We kept them at arm's length. I can't really remember too many chances that United created. Just watching what was going on behind there. I can't really remember too many chances that United created. I don't think we were at our flowing best. The unfortunate thing is, it could and should have been 3-0, and the last 16 minutes played out with little event, and we could have gone, and rested a couple of players before Sunday. So the unfortunate thing is, we gave the scoreline credibility on behalf of United, because I don't think they did that themselves. And we didn't have the opportunity to rest our legs a little bit before another huge game against Carragher's Liverpool.
What about the 4-2 goal?
Yeah, right. Sorry, boys.
Oh, here he is.
Hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
The Amazon man's just been. Hang on, I'll turn this round. It's facing. Hang on. Right.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. Don't worry, Carrie. We're only live, but it's fine.
Oh, are we live?
We're live. We're live.
Oh, sorry, boys.
It's all right. We're live to your kitchen.
Hang on.
You were live in the Big Brother house. Please do not swear.
Do not swear.
Oh, sorry, lads. I'll just turn this camera around.
Go and sit the other side of it, Cara.
That is a great. Oh, yeah, I can't see you. Oh my God!
We'll take a tour of the house.
Yeah, well, you've got the what have you got? You got the kitchen.
Oh, lovely!
Oh my God! What am I going to do here? Switch camera.
There we go.
Why is it not working? Hang on.
This is the kind of content you get on an Echo of Glory.
Worth waiting for.
Yeah, let me do this way, but I can't see you. Can you tell me what I need to do? Can you see me?
Yeah, there we go. There he is. There he is.
I was going to go left or right.
No, perfect. Absolutely spot on.
Okay, cheers, boys.
If you could, actually, James is saying, can you move it right a bit? A little bit. Just ever so slightly. Right. Other way.
Other right.
Oh. You're right.
Perfect. Now you're in the middle. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I was going to introduce you as the man that's knocked Tottenham out the Carabao Cup, but we never got there, so...
What have you done now?
You've drawn us against Liverpool. You've drawn us against Liverpool last night.
Yeah, I mean, Tottenham was the one everyone wanted, weren't it?
Yeah, exactly. Let's. Thanks for coming on again. We were saying you're a third time guest. You've been on before every Liverpool game. Johnny sends his apologies. I mean,
that's the amount of own goals I scored, wasn't it?
That's what we said.
Didn't want to mention it. Johnny sends his apologies. So you're stuck with me, and we got Gary and Jake instead. Let's kick off then with last night's game. Just your thoughts. Obviously, we heard them on Sky, but now you've had 12 hours or so. What did you think?
No, a brilliant game, really. And you come away from it, and you're a little bit like, you start questioning yourself what you said after the games. You're a bit like, should I really be complaining about that when I'm a pundit? Really? Oh my God! Can you hear that at the door there?
Is that another Amazon delivery? Is that Tom?
Yeah. By the sounds of it, yeah. Wait there 1 second. I know we're live.
We're talking about
amazing. We're talking about
at this time of the year. 1 second.
Christmas shopping.
It's the same in my house, to be fair. Every 5 minutes.
Same everyone's house.
Yeah, there's a new. I mean, Amazon must deliver. Anyway, another show.
Fantastic stuff. I just wanted to very quickly, while he's gone, Sergio Reguilon.
I know.
Yeah.
But that shows how far down the pecking order we are now, and how desperate it is just to rest some legs. That you got to bring on a guy that is very clearly nowhere near a part of the plans. So
I've said it before, though. Unpopular opinion. I think in this system, I could see a way back for the guy.
No,
I think he even looked confused to be honest. Like, is this an accident?
Like, are you sure, Gaffer? Yeah.
Let's do some of the comments then while we're waiting. Padani, yes, we are still live. Daniel Pincus. And the 25 million shot up using his foot. I don't know what.
Right, we're done.
We're back on, Carrie.
Right, come on, let's go.
Yeah, here it is. Let's go. What was that one? Amazon?
I'll let into a little secret.
Oh, okay.
That was an Everton signed shirt from 1984-85. The Cup Winners' Cup team have signed it.
Wow.
And that was for my father-in-law for Christmas, who's an Everton season ticket holder.
Well, hopefully he doesn't watch this.
I don't think he's going to subscribe to your
What you say?
No one else does.
Wow, savage.
So that was a Christmas present for him. So I had to, and that was the season that Everton and Tottenham competed for the probably the last. Oh no, not the last time Tottenham competed for the title. Pochettino's team competed for the title, didn't it? Yeah. A couple of times, but that was that. So I couldn't miss that. So we're ready to rock and roll. Let's go.
Well, just talk. You mentioned about the game and how crazy it was, and then of course you did the draw at the end. We'll just cover that off. The next one's Tottenham. Obviously, Tottenham, Liverpool. Liverpool are going to be pretty happy with that one, though, aren't they? I mean, no one wants to draw anyone really at that point, but of all the teams to get drawn against. To be at home as well in the second leg.
Would you prefer Arsenal and Liverpool? Have 2 derby games?
Other, I think.
You'd prefer to play Arsenal?
But I think only because I think having to go away to Anfield in the second leg, that's got to be the worst of the other 3 teams left in the
drawing Arsenal also eradicates potentially playing them in a final, which no one wants.
Yeah, exactly. But to be honest, I think it was always going to be like... 4 really good teams there, wasn't it? There's not like one where everyone was desperate to get them. I must admit, when I was looking, I was thinking I'd probably Liverpool rather go to Tottenham than Newcastle away or Arsenal away. I know it's 2 legs, but I just think we went to Newcastle. It can be pretty lively up there. We know that ourselves. Obviously, you might probably have some people fit by then, won't you? I would imagine. For the semi-final, but it's definitely 4 good semi-finals. I think it'd be a great final. And to be honest, if we don't win it, I would like. I mean, use or Newcastle. just for the fact of I can't stand it when teams go years without winning stuff. It's not good for football. So if you do us in the semi, I wish you all the best in the final for sure. Yeah.
Jamie, in terms of the semi-final, obviously Arne Slot wants to desperately win a trophy in the first season. A lot of new managers, go out and target the Carabao Cup especially. But I think the first leg's 3 days after Man United visit Anfield. How seriously is Slot going to be taking this? Are we going to see the likes of Salah and Diaz and Van Dijk in the first leg specifically?
I hope not. I think the game after that, though, is an FA Cup game, and we've got Accrington at home. So it's obvious the manager's not going to play one first team player there. So then he might look at it and go, well, I think there's midweek fixtures the following midweek.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't think he would want his best team, say, playing Man United and then not playing for another 10 days. So I think that's obviously a problem for you if you're worried about Liverpool playing the best team. So I would imagine he might make 1 or 2 changes. Someone's got a knock or not quite right. But he knows he's going to make all those changes against Accrington. So I think he'll go pretty strong in that. And I think the second leg, when I was looking at the fixtures on the train home from London today, I think there's an FA Cup.
Yeah, it is. Because there's a gap, isn't there, after that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because the two semi-finals, I think because of the Champions League, I think it's about a month apart or something like that. So I think there's an FA Cup game before or after, which, again, you'd probably think the manager will look at that and think, I'll probably make me changes there rather than the second leg of a semi-final. But for me, I know it sounds terrible. I was not too fussed if we'd have got knocked out by Southampton. I really wasn't. I'm terrified of all these cups piling up on us. And then you get to March 8th. That happened last season. And it happened two or 3 years before under Klopp, where, at January, February, we're talking about going for 4 trophies. And last season, we ended up with 1. A couple of years ago, we ended up with 2, but the end of 2 that we won. So we got beat last day of the season, Premier League, and we lost the Champions League final. So if I'm Slot, if he wins the league, he's a Liverpool legend. He's done. No matter what he does for the next 4 years or whatever, how long he's here. If he wins the Carabao Cup, he's not going to move the dial that much. It's nice to win a trophy. But for me, I wouldn't want anything getting in the way of the league. And I'm only saying that because of the position Liverpool find themselves in, with a little bit of a lead. And Man City not in the race, where you think you might have to get 100 points or something. So it is a great opportunity for Liverpool.
Also, in terms of, obviously, the derby being off a few weeks ago, if Liverpool gets to the League Cup final, that's 2 games behind potentially Arsenal. I know Arsenal could be in the final as well. And, if getting further in the FA Cup, they could sort of be 3-4 games behind some teams if they get really deep.
So are you basically asking me to have a word with Arne Slot there?
Exactly. We'll give you the point Sunday. You give us a place in the final. We'll shake hands on that.
You know what? If someone said to me, "We'll beat you Sunday and you go through the final," I'll take that.
So would we.
But Jamie, let's talk about Liverpool a little bit and the game on Sunday. Arne Slot's had a huge impact since he's come into Liverpool and taken over from a legend like Klopp. We've seen managers take over, like after Wenger, Arsenal fade away, after Ferguson, United fade away. It's never easy to take over from a legend of a manager. What's Arne Slot done so well that's brought this early success at this part of his tenure?
It was really interesting. I read something before, and I don't like these things, but almost like a few little snippets coming out of the club who maybe these players have spoken to people off the record, almost this feeling that actually Arne Slot's little tweaks would have helped us in the last 2 or 3 years, when Liverpool come close but didn't really eventually get over the line. Now, I don't like speaking about another manager or the new one does this and that. We've heard all that stuff before and you know what players are like. But when you think of what Jurgen Klopp achieved and the relationship Jurgen Klopp has with those players, so it's not like those players not liking the last manager and saying the next one's great. They absolutely adore Jurgen Klopp, but for a few little snippets of people saying, they think, Arne Slot sort of ways could have helped them in the last couple of years at vital moments, shows you maybe how much respect the manager's held in at such an early stage, really, when he hasn't won anything yet. Liverpool have made a great start, but still to yet get this, the silverware on board. So he's definitely come in. I think he's more of a coach than what Klopp was. Klopp was more of a motivator. Obviously, Klopp is a great coach, and Arne Slot's a great motivator. We always put managers in boxes, and the top managers can do pretty much everything. But there's no doubt his big strength is assessing what's going on in the game in the first half and making changes for Liverpool to then go and win the game in the second half. So the majority of Liverpool's goals come in the second half. That's a big thing that stands out, obviously. But I think he's as good as anybody in the Premier League at sort of game management, really. And that's maybe something that you could say is almost the opposite in some ways of your manager, really, when I watch you play. So he's painfully switching and changing. And the game against Fulham, if you hadn't watched the game and you're on the outside looking, you think, it's a terrible result for Liverpool, that. But I think Liverpool supporters came away from it thinking, well, I certainly did. We've got a top manager.
Yeah.
Just the way that he dealt with the situation, down to 10 men, 1-0 down. We all know Fulham are one of those sides that everyone thinks you're going to beat them, but it's a tough game.
Very tough game.
So sometimes it's not as easy as it looks. And Liverpool battered them.
The pattern didn't change with the red card, which is the biggest compliment.
Yeah, and also the fact that he kept changing formation in the game, making substitutions and making it, because obviously Martin Silva's a good manager. He's then changing and reacting to the Liverpool manager, and he just kept making changes. And you look at sort of the chances Liverpool had, the XG, the possession with 10 men against a really good Premier League team. It was like that was a top operator there on the side of the pitch.
Well, let me ask you, while we're talking about managers, and you've said a lot about Arne Slot there, what resonated with me, I think the first time you came on, I asked you the question, how do Liverpool so consistently get managerial choices right over and above other clubs? And something resonated with me hugely that you said, it might not necessarily be about the manager choices themselves, but the fact that in Liverpool, the manager is king, and Liverpool fans put everything into the manager, all faith, all belief, much more so than any other club. And that sort of leads me to my question, which is, if you were a Spurs fan right now, with Ange there, and you've seen as much of Tottenham as probably anybody that isn't actually a Spurs fan, if you were a Spurs fan right now, applying that logic and that same belief that you say Liverpool fans had, where would you be with Ange? Because there's been some question, some wavering. Can he get to where we need to go playing this way? Where would you be on Ange as a Spurs fan right now?
I think I'd be for me, it'd be almost like a 7 out of 10 situation, I would imagine, with the manager. But there's a couple of other things that you want, but you actually sit back and look at the bigger picture and think, you know what? We play attacking football. We've got I keep going back to, we've got our Tottenham back in some ways, because that felt like a lot what you used to speak about when you had sort of 3 managers on the run who were pragmatic.
Yeah.
Now they weren't perfect. Ange isn't perfect, and I think in some ways, there's no way Ange should be losing his job at any stage this season, no matter what, for me, because I think he had a really good first season. I think the Europa League is important. Yeah. I think for this season, I think it's going to be difficult to finish top 4. We know that. We might get 5 positions. I was reading something this morning that the Premier League right now are in a decent position for that. But we said that last season. I think the Europa League is something he's got to go really close to winning, I feel. But I also think, now that you've asked me, I think you wouldn't really want to start next season with a new coach in some ways, because there's a lot to love, a lot to like. He's the highest scorers in the Premier League. But there's this thing that Ange Postecoglou doesn't bring any staff with him. And he inherits the staff, but a lot of those staff have moved on. One of them's gone to manage Birmingham. Yeah. He's gone there. I think another one's left as well. Almost someone who could add the things that is missing there, because there's no doubt there is something missing in terms of maybe in-game management, setting the team up not defensively, but to get through certain moments, tactically from the side of the pitch. Yeah. Could he bring in a coach, or could the club bring in a coach to help on that score? Because sometimes when I watch, I was at the game last night, we got a great vantage point, as probably everybody has in that stadium, because I'm just still in awe of that stadium every time I turn up at the place. There's not too much instruction from the side of the pitch. It's almost like he's watching it and he's ready to speak to the players at half time or full time. And I'm sometimes thinking, I'd love him if it was my manager or someone to get an instruction on to do something or change something or tweak something slightly as the game changes, or the opposition are making substitutions or changing formation. It just feels like he's sort of watching the game and taking it in, obviously, and seeing things, of course. But that'd be my feeling as a Tottenham fan. There's so much to like, but you just want to. You feel like come on, just a little bit more.
Exactly that.
Of that.
Exactly.
The other thing that you and Jamie Redknapp were quite vocal on last night was maybe when, for example, when we were 3-0 up, the passing at the back, the maybe not necessarily ignoring the manager, but not following his instructions to the letter of the law, and maybe players taking responsibility. Where's the kind of line with that, though, in terms of the manager wants you to do something, but also you as a player thinking, well, actually, I'm going to do something else?
So I think the first one, I've got no problem with it. It's a mistake from the goalkeeper. Now, that's how Tottenham play. And I'm not one of them who, if I hear pundits say, kick it long all the time, I'm like, I've got my head in my hands.
Yeah.
The game is played that way. So there's no problem with you playing around the back, building up. You've played that way all game and you're winning 3-0. So people might say, why would you change? Now, okay, the keeper's made a mistake. We know he's not great with his feet, but up until that stage, you'd be fine. You're winning 3-0. The keeper makes a mistake with a pass. Okay, it happens. But then the game changes because you in that stadium know you're automatically thinking Chelsea a week ago, 10 days ago, whatever it was.
More than that, we've got PTSD for years, Jamie, with that situation.
Yeah, exactly. What I'm saying is, if that was Anfield, there might be a different feeling in there.
Yeah.
Because of what Tottenham have done this season, especially.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it, and the players know it, and the fans know it. Now, when you've got a goalkeeper who isn't great on the ball and has made a mistake, you don't then give him the ball again in that situation 5 minutes later. Now, I know Ange will be saying, keep playing. But in me, I'm not talking about changing something. But if you've got a free kick not far from the halfway, if you're pursuing it all. And again, I'm not saying just smash it long up to Solanke. But can you play it wide? Can you play it into just play football in the halfway? Yeah. It doesn't have to go back to your goalkeeper. Now, 10 minutes later, if we're all a little bit more calmer in the stadium, we've made a few passes, we're back to doing what we're doing at 3-0, and we've just conceded the shitty goal. You go, okay, that's fine, it's football. But you don't give him the ball back a few minutes later. That's my point. It's like, and it's not just the goalkeeper. We've all played in, if I make a mistake at centre-back through something like that, something silly, straight from the kick-off, I don't want the ball straight away.
Yeah.
You want to just like get your confidence back, but build up into the game. So it's not about change, probably the wrong word. Tweak is probably more of the right way, because teams aren't changing now. Teams aren't going to going from playing great football to being a long ball team. That's not the game. There's probably only, I would say, Everton in the Premier League now, who I would class as like a really direct, old-fashioned long ball team that you might have seen in the mid to late 90s in the Premier League. I'd only class Everton as that. Yeah. So I wouldn't expect the team to start doing that. If they don't do it, they haven't got the players to do it. It's just about making better decisions.
I think this goes back to what you were talking about when I asked you the question about Ange. It's the little tweaks that are needed, and the in-game management has been a big problem for us. So, for example, we're top of the table when it comes to getting the ball back into play quickly. And we saw it against Chelsea. We've seen it again last night. You take a look at Fulham and Arsenal going down, taking these tactical, strategic breaks, slowing the game down. And then there's other bits like, that tactical foul on as the team's breaking from deep in their half, that little tug, just pull them back, stop that break. We're not doing that enough. It's them things. And the football purists would say you don't want to see that. That's not what the game is. But actually it is. That's a big part of the game, that what we call the dark arts. It is a part of the game. And we are not good at it. And we need to be a hell of a lot better. And I think that's some of the stuff that you were alluding to earlier.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, I played for a club whose mantra was pass and move. Tottenham have always had that sort of history and tradition of playing the game, the right way, wherever the right way is. But we know what that means when people say that. But we were also brought up to be streetwise as well, a little bit at Liverpool. And people talk about, I said, pass and move. But you go back to the 70s and the 80s when Liverpool were in European Cups, they were going away from home and getting 0-0s and killing games and finding a way to win. We did that at times under certain managers. We go away in Europe and we're not there to entertain people. We're there to get a result. Correct. And I just sometimes think when I watch this Tottenham team, it feels very Kevin Keegan-esque, where it's all like, and listen, it might be a time that you all look back on in 10 years' time and go, it was great, the football we played, we loved it, and you remember it, great, but you want to look back at a few trophies. And listen, and again, I'm not saying Tottenham should win the Premier League or should win the Champions League, because it's, not being funny, it's not really in your DNA, it's not something that the club is known for, but, winning cup competitions, and as I said, doing well in the Europa League, these are competitions Tottenham should be going very close to winning year in, year out. You should be really strong in at least one cup competition. And I just think when you're playing the teams now at the highest level and you see the other managers in-game management, you have Pep Guardiola, Arteta, Slot at Liverpool as well. Yeah. If you're not doing it, you're just at a disadvantage.
All right, Caro, you've been very generous with your time, so thank you very much. Just before you go, though, of course, we need to get your prediction. What's going to happen on Sunday? Give us some good news. Come on.
I can't see Tottenham not scoring. I think we haven't quite been the same defensively without Konate in there. But I think we've only got Konate out now and Bradley. But, Conor Bradley's, you wouldn't class him as first choice. He's probably back up to Trent. So we're going to have a pretty strong bench, Liverpool, at the weekends. And I know that will obviously be a problem for Tottenham.
Yeah.
So I think Liverpool will win.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool will win 3-1.
I don't think anyone can begrudge you a prediction like that. And just before you go, coming up to Christmas in the Carragher house, what's the plans? Everyone round yours?
Well, you've just seen the kitchen.
Yeah.
You've just seen the island there, so that's where we all pick our food up. And we'll have a big Christmas dinner. So there'll be about 10 or 12 of us here. Who
does the cooking? What's on the menu?
The wife does the cooking. Nicola Carragher, give it a shout out on a Tottenham podcast. That'll go down well. She does. She's always done. We normally have about 25, but it's gone too far that now. So we just sort of cut it in half, strip the squad size down. Got a bit Pep Guardiola, just like too many numbers.
To be fair, she had a shout out on Monday Night Football with Theo Walcott's, was it kitchen or something like that, designing his...
Oh, yeah. Did you see his face when I said he paid cash?
Brilliant. I think we better end it there before we have HMRC calling us up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Caro, thank you very much. Enjoy the game and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, Jamie. Thank you.
Cheers, boys. Good luck.
Cheers.
All the best.
Fantastic stuff. Can't really ask for much more than that, can you? Jamie Carragher, tour of his kitchen, football chat, Christmas chat. Interesting, actually. A couple of bits that I wanted to pick up on what he said there. Actually, ironically enough, were mentioned in Ange's presser. One was when he mentioned the Kevin Keegan thing. One of the people asked him, the reporters asked him today, do you think football punditry has become like too serious? Because everyone back in the day, Kevin Keegan and the way Newcastle were playing, everyone was loving it. And now you've got people saying, "Oh, well, you can't play like that. You're never going to win anything." But we all remember Kevin Keegan, Asprilla, Ginola.
Yeah, and that was a team. That was a Newcastle team that got a huge amount of credit, but ultimately they didn't win anything. And I think that's the issue. I don't think it is about the way that we play. There's nothing wrong with the way that we play, but I think Carragher got it right, and it's stuff that we all know, and it's stuff that we've discussed about on this pod before. It is, you can call it the dark arts, you can call it a bit of in-game sort of nous or whatever you want to call it.
Rodri's a master at it. Fernandinho used to be a master at it.
All the best teams, United under Ferguson used to play some brilliant football, but they were horrible to play against. Yeah. They were horrible to play against. Even just getting around the ref, complaining, getting in the ref's face, putting that pressure on. We don't do these things. We are, I think, at this moment, too nice a football team. We may be horrible to play against in the sense of continuous press, continuous 100 miles per hour. And other teams might think, oh, this is tough. But we're not horrible to play against in the sense of getting in their faces, really winning the battle before you win the war. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing. And even sort of last night, just, I know people don't like it when I use the term naive on this show. How can you say that they're naive, this, that, the other? But there is a naivety about it. There is a naivety about going back to the keeper. Gray held his hands up, but it was Bissouma that held it back, that passed it back to Gray from the free kick. That's a free kick that we should be going forwards with. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many little things about our in-game play that just needs a bit more maturity and in-game management about, that would help this team go from being a scintillating attacking football team that you can liken to Keegan, but add that bit of nastiness to it, and you've got a serious football team.
You mentioned Archie Gray, and he held his hands out. You see the clip doing the rounds. I mean, that in itself is almost why I want to see the guy in midfield, because maybe he already takes responsibility, doesn't he? I mean, you want that guy marshalling, shepherding, commanding the centre of the park.
He's just generally, his footballing IQ is possibly the best I've seen from an 18-year-old at Tottenham. Like, not in terms of ability. I'm not saying he's better than Dele Alli or better, but his footballing IQ and understanding of the game for a guy that is 18 years old is incredible.
I'm almost feel like we're not being allowed to see what he could offer, the best of what he can offer yet, because of the fact he's only played in defence, really.
Yeah, but as we've previously touched on, I think that will only,
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like I'm not saying he's a top centre back, but he already looks comfortable at centre back, and he needs to be, because he's got, he's got a load of games coming up where he cannot afford not to play. He needs to play every game at the moment. But I have no doubt that him playing, all across the back line will put him in a, even better position when he does get into midfield eventually, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so, and I think we should, let's carry on the talk from Carragher and talk about the game against Liverpool coming up. I think he's absolutely right. The squad that Liverpool have, I think, will be the big differentiator. They're another team that's had 24 hours rest more than us, the same way as United did, the same way as Southampton did, the same way as I think Rangers did. Every team at the moment just seems to be getting 24 hours more rest than us. But somebody made the comment while we were on to Carragher. One of our viewers made the comment, I wonder how Arne Slot would cope with 10 injuries and 10 first-team potential players out. And there's a bit of a sort of a dichotomy around this, right? And that is, one, it's a valid point, okay? I think Arne Slot's come into the league, he's tweaked things a little bit, and sometimes there's a few things about this. Sometimes it takes other managers a little bit of time to work out how to overcome it. So if you remember us in our first 10 games under Ange, we were blowing teams away, and a lot of teams looked sort of like deer in headlights. What the hell is going on with this 100-mile-per-hour football? I used to call it vicious attacking football, and it was. But then managers start to pick holes, work out tactically where you can go, a little bit like at the beginning of this season when we had Kulusevski and Maddison, and then West Ham were propping it in that area behind and exploited a weakness. That will start to happen with Slot. Then you start to throw in some injuries, as our viewer said, and that's when the real test will come for Arne Slot as well. And then you throw in the fact that Salah is another year older next season, Van Dijk as well. Alisson is seems to be having real problems recovering, so they're in a real hot streak at the minute. I do think there will come a tougher time for Liverpool.
Oh, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. But, and I know I'm on a bit of a sort of been speaking for a little bit, but my final point on these injuries is I also have to think, you look at the likes of Archie Gray and Spence and Bergvall, and these guys could have played a lot more minutes this season than they have. They could have been trusted a lot more than they have. They've only been trusted now that they've really needed to be thrown in.
Only because we had no choice.
That's my point. Would Ange have put them in if our guys had stayed fit? But here's my point on that. Why do I say this? It's because if Ange had trusted them more earlier, we might have avoided a couple of these injuries. We might have taken the strain off. They might not have played as many minutes. Romero, Van de Ven, Udogie, Porro, whoever else it is, they might not have played these minutes. So it's a fair question about the injuries, but I do have to wonder if Ange's lack of faith, as it seemed to be earlier in the season, in these kids has contributed to that, when actually in the summer he came into the season going, we're going to put a lot of stock and faith in Archie Gray and Bergvall and Spence. It's taken him to now to start really playing them.
He was asked about them, but it was in the embargoed section, which is a bit that's basically held back to be played out later, so I can't really go into it, but it was very interesting. So if you can get the comments on that. You know what an embargoed section is?
10:30.
Did I? 10:30, that's on time. Just explain what that means.
What, embargo?
Yeah.
It's basically when the papers go to print at 10:15 or 10:30, and the stuff that's written today in tomorrow's paper cannot be seen until the paper's gone to print.
So there may be some stuff coming out about that. About the younger signings, the likes of Gray and Bergvall,
Spence.
and less Spence, but more in relation to spending big money on your Solankis, your finished articles, and spending less money on unproven younger players.
So out of interest on that, because this isn't something that I was previously aware of, when there is a press conference, how do they determine which part of it will be embargoed?
So it's just a time thing. So there'll be, 5 or 6 people asking questions in the main broadcast bit. You get Sky, you get PLP, you get broadcasters basically, TalkSport, 5 Live. And then what happens is for the papers, most of the papers. A couple of guys will ask a question, but then they'll say, right, turn the cameras off.
Yeah.
The rest of this is embargoed until 10:30 tonight.
Right.
As Jake said, that's when the papers come out. So it means that the guys who are writing can write stories about these quotes, and they're saved basically for the papers. They're not then used by Sky or whoever now. So those won't be out now.
And then often they'll dig in deeper to a question in the broadcast section.
So it'll be more like analysis stuff. And sometimes they have 2 or 3 embargoes. If the game wasn't till Monday, they might have an embargo tonight, a Sunday embargo, and a Monday morning embargo.
But when you say cameras off, then is this where often it gives the press a bit of leeway to create their own headlines out of context? Because you find that sometimes you get the headline of this was said, and then you actually get in, or you see it, like you find out what was actually said.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, Jake can talk about that more than me. But the headline writers and the article writers
You're throwing me under the bus.
They're very different.
Yeah,
it's not the same. The people that write the articles don't write the headlines. Basically, I think is the point. Without throwing anyone under the bus. Right, should we do a couple more comments? Then we better get the hell out of here. Although I want to get your predictions for the game.
Sorry, just in terms of Carragher, I felt like, and I've noticed this on Sky and whenever he speaks about it, he really wants us to do well.
No, he does.
He really does. I know he said, Slot said he wants us to win a trophy. Maybe it's a Liverpool thing, but I feel like he desperately wants this to work. He's one of the most non-Spurs pundits that's spoken highly about us more than any other. I know Neville has on occasions, but Carragher's always been, he loved Pochettino, and he seems like he really does see something in Ange.
The first time he came on this pod ahead of the crazy Liverpool game last year at with the 9 men, we had him on, and he said that Spurs has always been his second team.
Yeah.
He made did he say he made his debut?
He did.
At Tottenham.
He scored a couple of goals for Spurs.
Yeah.
But I think he said he even grew up. He grew up enjoying the way that Tottenham played, and always enjoyed coming to White Hart Lane as a great stadium.
So I think he had that, but he also now I think he loves Ange and the way he plays and the way he speaks.
Well, he said, I don't like it when a team doesn't win.
That's it. That's the key. That's the exact thing I was going to pick up on. He said it's not good for football when the same clubs are consistently winning trophies, and that's a key point because since 2001, 87% of domestic trophies have been dominated by 5 clubs. So it's healthy for football. And see other clubs winning.
Basically said, in other words, he wants everyone to win the Carabao Cup apart from Arsenal. So
hates Arsenal.
Happy days. So we'll get him on again.
Exactly.
Right.
Exclusive. Carragher hates Arsenal.
What do you? I'm trying to get predictions out of you.
Look,
because Carragher said we're going to lose.
Liverpool are 20 games unbeaten.
Yeah,
it's the longest run for about 30 years.
I think I can't see. I think if you think about what Carragher said, right? Liverpool scored most of their goals in the second half.
And we conceded a lot.
I mean, they're going to have the legs. They've got the depth of squad. We are absolutely knackered. They've had 24 more hours rest. I think for us to get a result would be an effort of gargantuan proportions. Like it really would.
And also, they made a load of changes.
Yeah, and
no Salah, no Van Dijk.
Yeah.
No Robertson.
Yeah,
they made a load of changes.
It wasn't an easy game against Southampton, but they got through.
Whereas we've gone full string.
Yeah, they got through pretty comfortably. I just think for us to get something out of this game, I don't go in with too many expectations. It would be a huge effort from the lads to get anything out of this.
Can I get a number?
So what's the prediction?
Do you know?
He's basically saying, I think we're probably going to lose, but I don't want to say we're going to lose.
But that's it. I don't want to give a prediction because I don't like to give a prediction against Tottenham. I don't think that's something that I'd like to do. I would take, if you gave me 2-2 right now, I'd bite your arm off for it. I'd bite your arm off for it.
I hope. I was just about to say it's going to be a good game, isn't it? I hope it's not one of those games that everyone thinks is going to be a good game, but it won't be because we're entertaining, mate.
I wouldn't mind if it was. I wouldn't mind if everybody's like really excited about this game, expect to see loads of goals, and actually it was a really tight, edgy 1-0 to Tottenham. Fantastic.
Just quickly, you both going?
Yeah,
I'm not.
All right.
It's my birthday.
Gary, see you there. Just a couple of quick ones. Huey Golf. Gary, you're on the right track. No, we're not reading the rest of that out. Padani, Bergel's coach in Sweden, said it would take him 6 months. Yeah, I think that's fair. Robert, Carragher does have a soft spot, says he does. Norman Stanley Fletcher, can we play against 9 players again? Yeah, very good. There was JJJ. No, can't read that out. Robert, Gakpo is the guy that always scares me. I really want him at Spurs. Yeah, we're taking. I take Tuchel all day. Absolutely. Guys, thank you very much. We better get out because James is about to
throw us out.
Being
evicted.
He's given us the sign. The door's open.
Yep.
Have a good weekend. Are we back next week?
You've done
probably.
A stellar job, by the way.
Well, thank you. Don't mention.
That other guy's
give me a
not
mention.
Get back, is he? He's not
he will be back. I believe we're doing one after the game on Sunday.
We're going to try to.
You're here for that.
I'm
Johnny
here,
will be
Johnny's
back.
here, and
I'm
we
not
just
here
need
for that.
you or somebody, Ollie or somebody.
Ollie might be coming in for that, I think.
Yeah.
James will be here. I hope he is. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. Hopefully we get some kind of result on Sunday and up the Spurs.